Hello YouTube, Sam here from youtube.com/onlivegamer for the New Boston, and in this tutorial we're going to be animating some graphics. So we'll come back into our Form 1 designer and let's just go ahead and change some properties of this button. So we'll set the text to animate rectangle. Okay, so now let's go ahead and come back into our code and we're going to create two variables. Two variables, private x position as integer and then private y position as integer. Okay, so whenever they click on Form 1, it's going to create a new rectangle. So what we want to do is set x position equal to e dot x, and then we'll set y position equal to e dot y. So now we have our x position and our y position. So we'll go ahead and minimize that. So now what we need to do is we need to come into our Form 1 designer again. We'll come over here to our toolbox and we'll create a new timer. So we'll just call it timer animate, and we'll set the interval to, let's say, 100 milliseconds is good. So we'll come back into form1.vb, or first we need to double click on timer animate so we can access the tick event. So you can see that when they click on Form 1, it's going to refresh it. Let's just go ahead and take me.refresh and put it inside draw new rectangle. So it'll refresh and then draw the new rectangle. So whenever the timer ticks, what we want to do is we'll set x position minus equals, or let's go ahead and add, plus equals, let's do 3, and then we'll just draw new rectangle. And for the new rectangle we're going to use x position and y position. And you can see I spelled some of this stuff wrong, so we'll come up here, we'll fix that. Okay, so whenever it ticks, it's going to add 3 to the integer x position, and it's going to draw a new rectangle with the x position and the y position. So whenever they click button draw, what we want to do is start the timer. So timer animate dot start. So it's going to start the timer. And we'll go ahead and run this. So we can just go ahead and click somewhere on the screen. So you can see that we got our square, and when we click animate rectangle, you can see that the rectangle starts sliding across the screen. But once it gets to the edge of the screen, it goes away and it never comes back. So what we can do to fix this is we'll type if x position is greater than me.size. So we're accessing the size property, and size contains what's called width. It's the horizontal length of the form. So if it's greater than the width of the form, what do we want to do? We want to set x position equal to 0. So it will send it back to the beginning of the form. And now we need to do an else if. So else if x position is less than 0, then what do we want to do? We want to set x position equal to me.size.width. Now we're not going to be using this else if right here. It's not going to be used anywhere in here, but we may use it later on. So if the square goes too far to the right, it's going to set it back to the front. And then if the square goes too far to the left, it's going to set it back to the right. So depending on which way we're going, it'll still work. And let's go ahead and we'll make the animation a little bit faster. So for timer animate, we'll come over here into Form 1 we will select the interval and we'll set it to, let's say, 20 milliseconds. So let's go ahead and run this, and we will draw a square, and we can click animate rectangle, and you can see that the rectangle will go all the way, and then once it passes the edge of the screen, it pops back up at the beginning of the form. And you can see that we can keep putting the rectangle in different places on our form, and it's going to continue to animate. And each time we do it, it creates a new rectangle because it refreshes the screen and takes away any previous rectangles. So what we can also do is we can make this animation go backwards. And that's what we can use this else if right here for. So if the position is less than 0, this is going to send it back to the right. So we'll go ahead and click that and create a rectangle, and we can click animate, and you can see that it'll go backwards. And once it hits right here, it's going to send it back to the edge, the other edge of the form. And every time we click, it creates a new rectangle and starts animating it from that position. So go ahead, put this code in if you haven't. You can change it around if you want, make it animate in different ways. And then once you've done that, go ahead and move on to the next tutorial.